Michelle. Here's my husband Jim. Say hey, Jim.
Hey.
We are headed to Vancouver on the Coquihalla Highway number 5 in British Columbia. It is a beautiful sunny day. Tomorrow we board the Celebrity Solstice for a 6-week set of 3 back-to-back cruises. We're going to leave from Vancouver, go on a Hawaiian cruise, then we leave from Honolulu on the same ship for the Tahiti Treasures Cruise, which will take us to Tahiti and New Zealand and Australia. Then when we get into Sydney, we leave on a Australian cruise to Brisbane and Cairns and Yorkeys Knob and Darwin. After that, we move on to 2 days in Bali and finish in Singapore. 6 weeks from tomorrow we arrive. So it's going to be a blast. We're going to have a great time, and thank you for joining us. This is the ship we sailed on, the Celebrity Solstice. It holds 2,850 passengers, has 1,425 cabins, and 1,271 crew. The ship was full when we sailed. The ship has several seating areas. Here you can see through the atrium down to the library and the games room. This is the main dining room. We ate most of our meals here, enjoying the many waiters serving croissants and orange juice and coffee over breakfast, as well as wonderful meals at night. The ship had outdoor pools as well as indoor pools, and many of the guests, starting in Hawaii, had flown up from Australia and were very much enjoying soaking in the sun. Not so much between Vancouver and Hawaii, though. The ship is full of artwork, as well as the art gallery for the periodic auctions. There were many statues and murals throughout the ship to enjoy. One of our favorite places was the coffee shop on deck 5. Jim would order igloos, a frozen chocolate coffee drink, and I would often crochet, especially on sea days. Our Hawaiian cruise started off as a tropical vacation on the first day. 2 hostesses from Hawaii had come with boxes and boxes of fresh orchids so that we could all make leis. They also brought ukuleles, taught ukulele classes and hula classes, and the guests who participated put on a show just before we arrived in Hawaii. So everything is strapped down today for the storm. It's day 3 on our cruise to Hawaii from Vancouver, British Columbia, and it's a little stormy out. Jim? Just a little windy out. Our first stop in Hawaii was Hilo on the Big Island. Hello from Hilo, Hawaii. We arrived this morning in Hilo after 5 days at sea. We shared a cab over to the rental car at the airport. Nice little airport, easy to do rental cars there. And we drove up here to Volcano National Park, where we have been driving along the West Rim and East Rim Canyon roads, and the road that connects a bunch of craters together, this being one of them. And we've just had a beautiful day. It's warm, windy, sunny sky, some clouds. We had rain on the way here, but it's been perfect since we arrived. It's a lovely day in Hilo. Certainly a park worth coming to if you're collecting national parks, or even if you're just coming to the big island of Hawaii. We spent a lot of time driving through Volcano National Park, really enjoying all the different lava flows and old craters and just the general scenery overall. It was a lovely day. Day 2 and 3 in Hawaii, we're at Kailua Kona on the Big Island. Our trip to Maui was canceled due to the fire damage. The Plymouth Rock of Hawaii. The Kailua Kona Pier covers most of the lava outcroppings here. This is a picture of what is called the Plymouth Rock of Hawaii. While we were in Kona, we went on a 2-hour excursion on a glass-bottom boat to see the reefs and the fish. We don't like snorkeling, so we thought that was a great way to see things.
Really. And it was obvious for others. Some of us wanted to get on a boat, go to the bow. Do the Jack and Rose moment, unfortunately. From Mexico, Southern California. Okay, so yeah, so we've got, Florida. Anyone? Yeah. So our water temperatures, you guys get to complain about how cold the water is, by the way. Because our water temperatures are around 70 to about 80 degrees. So that's pretty cold. Yeah, I know, that's pretty cold for Floridians, also for coral. So when you get closer to the equator in warmer waters, like 80, 90 degrees, that's when you get softer corals, which tend to have a little bit more of the orange, the yellows, even the reds. Here we go. Now the reason we call this reef Royal Reef,
After Kona, the ship sailed on to Honolulu for the end of the Hawaiian cruise. We stayed on the ship, of course, and continued on what was now called the Tahitian Treasures Cruise. That afternoon, this lovely packet of goodies was delivered to thank us for being a back-to-back passenger. After 4 days at sea, traveling almost due south from Hawaii, we arrived in the French Polynesian Islands. In Moorea, we got off the ship in the afternoon, wandered down to the end of the line of people offering private tours, and negotiated a 2-hour private tour with one of the operators there.
It's very beautiful here.
Yeah, it's a very, very nice island. And in fact, we got also a lot to do on this island, on mountain side and on seaside. So it's good. And on the right over there, you will see our eco museum. Very nice building. After we'll stop when we'll come back.
Okay.
Because when we'll come back, we'll enter in this valley, Okunuku Valley, to go to the Belvedere.
Okay.
And as I told you, for the moment there are all the buses, so...
Yeah, the buses could stay there now. We'll go later.
Yes, I hope they will be down when we go. And your ship look very big from here. We are going to see it.
Yes.
You can have more if you want, don't hesitate. And then I will take a photo of you. Rubber tree.
It's what?
Rubber
It's
tree.
a rubber tree.
Oh, it's a rubber
We
tree.
call it also the rubber tree.
Oh.
In Tahiti, we had booked a 4-hour tour through the ship. The bus took us all the way around the island.
It's a Cook Memorial. Not much of a memorial, is it?
No.
Because it's been growing for longer. There are 8 passes on Moorea. All of the passes, by the way, are natural. We don't dig holes in the barrier reef. By the time you get to Moorea, you need to keep an eye out for them. I can't spot them every time, but when I do.
Halfway around the island, the bus stopped for a rest break at a restaurant right on the ocean. We had cake and juice. Another stop on our bus tour of Tahiti was the botanical gardens.
Well, we have
the big botanical garden, which is closed for
After a few more days at sea, we arrived in Auckland, New Zealand. Unfortunately, both Jim and I had picked up a bug on our 4-hour tour of Tahiti. So we just stayed on board the ship and hung out in our cabin, enjoying the view from our balcony and keeping our germs to ourselves. When we arrived in Sydney Harbour, it was the end of our Tahitian Treasures cruise and the beginning of the Australian cruise. As continuing passengers, we were not allowed to stay on board this time. We had to leave the ship with everybody else at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we were not allowed to reboard until after 11:30. This gave us a chance to go explore Sydney Harbour.
Yellow marked boarding area. Stand clear of the ferry crew and follow their instructions. If you are feeling unwell, require assistance, or are concerned about your safety, please talk to one of our ferry crew members. Always have a valid ticket when travelling on ferries. Authorised officers conduct
The Sydney Opera House is a World Heritage listed masterpiece of human creative genius. This is the Harbour Bridge in Sydney, and one of the excursions from the ship was to walk over the bridge. Apparently, this is something people do for enjoyment. The first stop on the Australian cruise was Brisbane, Australia, where we took a river cruise on the Brisbane River.
Another
After Brisbane, our next port of call was Yorkeys Knob and Arlisle Beach. There we took a 2-hour harbor cruise with some wonderful singers and a lovely bar and a few snacks and had a nice time just seeing the harbor.
Pigeon Island over here on my left. Thank you very much.
See lots of turtles and dugongs around here and things.
When the jet skis haven't been through scaring them off. Okay, guys, if you're wanting some bar snacks, they're up on the bar here. Just notice that this chimney is not it's not for holding on to cling on to. Okay, it's actually a speaker.
On the left, we have a picture of the two ladies who were singing to us for the afternoon. And of course, there's also a picture of my husband, Jim.
On this one,
In Cairns, we had booked a ship excursion to take the Skyrail to Kuranda. long ways up.
Rainforest, but sometimes big trees will die and fall over. When that happens, they create a hole in the canopy. So in this small gap, you can see the sunlight can reach the ground. It's very bright. So some of the other plants, their strategy to survive is having their seeds just lying on the ground and they wait for a long time, like 20, 30 years. Only when the sun shines on them, then these seeds will wake up and start growing. They will try to grow up quickly to fill the hole for themselves. So we call them the pioneer species. And a very good example of the pioneers is this palm tree looking thing just growing here. So this is actually a climbing palm tree. Okay, now, like a normal palm tree, when they grow taller and taller, we're getting rid of all the lower leaves. But you can see the tree trunk is not a very typical woody tree trunk. It looks more like a bamboo. Also, it's very soft. Because it gets very long, just like a rope. So this is because grow of woody tree trunk needs a lot of energy.
Oh, nice pool of water at the bottom, straight down.
We took a total of 3 different gondolas to reach Kuranda. When we finally arrived in Kuranda, we discovered it was a steep hike through town on a hot and very humid day. As a result, we forgot to take very many pictures. In this shot, you can see the lush forest that is surrounding the town of Kuranda. Very hot, very humid.
And then it became, in World War II, it was one of the towns were convalescing for soldiers from the Pacific duties. So what we're going to do, we're going to make our way down the Kuranda range. So on that road that you saw from the Skyrail, you'll see the Skyrail twice. Yeah, she says that's a load of baloney, but believe me,
This is a view of Cairns from the mountainside at an overlook as we headed back by bus. The highlight of our stop in Darwin was to go on the jumping crocodile excursion. We were in Darwin at the very end of the rainy season. This area is a wetlands that will all be flooded by January.
This morning we are using boats on boats. There's too many of you to fit onto one. I don't think anyone wants to sit on the roof of either of the boats. We'll have everyone inside of them. Now functionally the tour you get is going to be the same whichever boat you're on. Neither boat is you two are good now. It'd be beyond bizarre if we saw like a Cuban crocodile or a Chinese alligator here right now. That'd just be way too weird. The saltwater crocodiles are the largest and most aggressive crocodilian species on the planet. What a fun combination. And the boys reach maturity at about 3.2 meters. So girls, that's just over 7 feet, and males, that's just over 10 feet. The girls only grow to about 3 meters or 10 feet long, while which is not very practical.
Right there, right there.
A crocodile.
there we go.
Yeah, Stumpy must have heard me talking about tags, so he's like, oh, I'm tagged. I've been tagged. Talk about me. Come up to the surface, Stumpy. You're being a very silly boy there.
Wow. There he is.
Oh, wow.
So it's very hard to catch the crocodile and try and bring that one down. Really good proof of. Legs go missing.
Oh.
Stumpy only has 1.5 of his legs.
Oh.
Yeah.
There he is. Oh, look at him.
So, what do you folks on the left side reckon? How big is he?
Oh,
I'd
say 12 to 10 feet.
What's their food requirement? How much do they eat?
To stay the same size, they only need to eat about 1% of their body weight per week.
Per week?
Per
Kind of
week.
like a snake.
Yeah, so just like snakes, they don't use any of their energy to regulate body temperature, which is where you and I use most of our energy, keeping our body at the right temp. So they don't need to eat nearly as much as we do. Right now, like 32, 33 Celsius. So yeah, pretty warm. So Stumpy is about 16 feet long. About 16 feet long. So much bigger than any of you saw, really.
This alligator was huge, and he was literally right in front of us. 2 days after leaving Darwin, we arrived in Bali, Indonesia. It was very hot and very humid, and all the excursions were over 5 hours, so we elected to just stay on the ship. We were in Bali for Halloween. The ship was all decked out, and there were dozens of carved pumpkins found in every corner. This picture was taken on Halloween at supper time. I always love dressing up for Halloween. The second to last night on each of the 3 cruises was lobster night. I thoroughly enjoy this particular dinner. After 6 weeks on the ship, we arrived in Singapore. It's time to pack our bags and finally disembark. In Singapore, we stayed at the Hard Rock Hotel, which is part of the Sentosa Resort. In the photo, you can see the beautiful lagoon pool with white sand. This is the Grand Square of Sentosa Island Resort. In this first area, there are several 5-star hotels. Further on is the entrance to Universal Studios and the S.E.A Aquarium. Bunnyverse is a thing at Sentosa Island. People sit here, take photos, rest. There's bunnies all over the place. Nope. The S.E.A Aquarium is part of the Sentosa Resort and not far from our hotel. It's very cool and very dark and was a lovely break on a hot day. On our last night in Singapore, we took a taxi out to the Singapore Night Safari Park. This park doesn't open until after dark. There's a 40-minute tram ride, allowing you to see the animals with special lighting. I was very surprised that my videos came out so well. We had dinner here as well.
After the hunt, the males will come in useful for gathering leaves and feeding the animals. Male Asian elephants spot tusks that they use for defense, digging, stripping bark from trees to eat and more. Sadly,
Well, it's time to fly home. I was so surprised that I got everything in the luggage and that none of our bags were overweight. We had a long wait in the airport, and on the next side, you'll see that they had a Santa's village, which I took some footage of. It was a wonderful trip, and we had a lot of fun.